welcome to Fitness Friday, combining drums, music, and healthy lifestyle. With today's host, Yael and special guest instructor, Andrew Johnson. Today's episode, The Importance of Time.
Right on. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? It's good to see everybody, whoever's out there in YouTube land and Facebook Live. We're doing a show today called The Importance of Time, which as drummers, we all know how time is important. And the guy that we have as a guest today is a very special meditation, hypnotherapist, life coaching, app making, amazing Scotland broadcast coming in, time travel, importance of time and meditation. And sorry, I'm mumbling. It's 9 a.m. and I'm a little frazzled. But basically, we want to introduce Andrew Johnson to you guys today. He's somebody that I was introduced to from my friend Carol during a pretty dark time with like insomnia and having issues sleeping and trying to get my brain together and settling into something, getting more grounded. As a drummer, you kind of have to always be the grounding force in the band. And this is like another section, like learning a song, like learning how to meditate is what somebody might perceive as something you have to actually learn. And I don't think that you have to really learn how to meditate. You kind of naturally flow into it, just like you naturally flow into playing a song. There's certain people that like to be taught how to do stuff. And there's certain people that can listen or have like visual memory or basically, I would just like to introduce Andrew to calm everything down because I'm in that like frazzled mode today. Let's go get onto Andrew's meditation. He basically makes apps that we can utilize and help us get more grounded. And in today's time, with all the chaos that's going on in the world, with COVID, with protests, with everything, it's good to have any kind of source that could help us out. Drumming helps us out, but this source for just calming the mind and getting grounded is where we're at. We all need something like that. So let's get on to Andrew Johnson all the way from Scotland that's able to help us out here. Sorry for the mumbling introduction. Hey.
It was a beautiful introduction, Yael. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
It was awesome, and good afternoon from the centre of the universe, which is Edinburgh.
Right on. Importance of time travel with Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, 8 hours apart.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I basically use your meditation for healing most of the time. That was my white light energy going through the body.
Yeah.
I've had some injuries as a drummer. It's not the most fun thing because certainly you can't use limbs, you know,
Yeah.
or you have to have some downtime. You have to allow yourself that time to just kind of, you know, get yourself back into one piece. So sitting with it and just accepting it for what it is and allowing, you know, more blood and more oxygen to flow and, you know, just getting stronger with that. It really, really is very helpful. And obviously the deep sleep app also, I might use it tonight. Got a new puppy here, so no sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just got him.
Okay.
Almost a week. So we've been up, you know, he's doing his regular pooping schedule.
What kind of dog is it?
It's an Australian cattle dog, a blue heeler.
Wow.
He's
Beautiful.
really cute. Yeah, thank you.
Would you know what's funny? So I started off with a lot of recordings on cassette, which is me giving my age away. And then, then CDs and then into MP3s and apps. But over the years, the deep sleep recording has always been the best seller.
That's awesome.
The reason I'm telling you this is that there have been numerous occasions where people have played it for themselves to chill out and have found out that the dog or the cat will fall asleep as well. And in a previous life, I had a couple of really big
Wow.
Myself and my wife at that point had a couple of really big Springer Spaniels. And our vet used to play the deep sleep recording on a CD in the vet's practice to calm down the dogs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, we'll try it.
You
He's
never
been
know.
good. Yeah, a calm state of mind is important, so that would be great.
It is.
Yeah. Basically, I just, want to tell people as drummers, being comfortable on and off the kit is the main thing that people, that's the point you want to get to, is just to be comfortable in your own skin, in your own space, and to, when you meditate, getting into the body seems to be the most complicated part for people because their mind keeps going somewhere else.
Sure.
I'm much more calm having a conversation with you on a screen than talking to myself. That was so awkward. Suddenly, I was just like, "Oh, I'm talking to me," and I should listen to your public speaking app because that's another one that I know.
I think you did. I think you did wonderfully. So there we go.
Thanks. Well, anyway, I just want to thank you again for being here and happy birthday yesterday. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, and you can lead us through all the neural pathways and time travel and anything that you feel like talking about,
Sure.
relating to the importance of time and grounding people for this COVID time, because no one's had a normal life for quite a while globally,
Well, sure. I mean, I think one of the things that we're dealing with today, so I've been in this business 25 years. Wow. As a therapist and a coach, but I've been meditating on and off for the best part of 40 years.
Wow.
And I was introduced to meditation when I was at school.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little bit of martial arts, as a lot of kids did at that point.
Nice.
Bruce Lee was really popular. David Carradine in a TV show called Kung Fu. And
nice.
Every kid that I knew was kicking lumps out of one another trying to be Bruce Lee. But I went along and did some martial arts at school, and at the end of the class, the teacher would take us through a 5-minute meditation. And I've got a vivid memory of all my school friends that I was with sitting there giggling, and
mm-hmm.
me thinking, gosh, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
And so I carried on that practice for many years, but really informally. And then became a therapist in the sort of early to mid 90s.
Okay.
So I had 24, 25, 26 years as a therapist teaching people to relax and break habits. But the one thing I know, without any shadow of a doubt, is that the thing that causes anxiety and stress in people is, well, the two things really: change and uncertainty. And my God, I mean, the last 6 months, you can imagine.
Of course.
And what I'm seeing here in the UK and when I speak to fellow therapists throughout the world is that there was the change and the uncertainty going into COVID. And now, certainly here, as it starts to open up, there is as much change and uncertainty coming out of it as there was going into it.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of people struggling with this. A lot of people struggling because they've got not enough time because they're at home with the kids all the time,
mm-hmm.
or they have way too much time because all their usual routines have been broken.
Right.
And there's a lot of crap going on. There really is. There's a lot of
the importance of how to utilize that time.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And sometimes having too much time is as difficult as having too little time.
Yeah, because it gets into so many other, like what's your purpose? And you start thinking about things that you probably haven't had time to think about, or everybody's, I know my husband and we've built a deck and rearranging, all kinds of things that we wouldn't normally have time. You're painting projects, and after a while, you kind of get lost in that too, because you don't have enough time to get back to your quote unquote normal life. You don't have your job anymore because it's closed down, or, people, anything public can't be done. Gigs live versus gigs on a computer. it's a completely different dynamic. Your work is a completely different dynamic. I mean, I listen to you in headphones, so that's the experience, and you want to close your eyes. So it really would probably be more energetically adaptable if there was just you in a room that you could get into the energy by yourself. But if you're in a large audience that's also meditating, that can give you a whole other level of energy. Because now you're dealing with everybody in that space with you. And that's the same for being a drummer. You're in the back holding that heartbeat. If you stop playing in the middle of a gig, that whole audience, whether it's 10 people, 5 people, or 100,000 people, they'll stop moving. The whole band will just look at you like, what just happened? So
I hadn't actually thought of that before, because a guitarist could stop for 2 minutes or 30 seconds.
Yeah, the beat can't stop.
The beat can't stop.
Right.
It's interesting. It's one of the things that when I knew I was coming on here to talk with you today, and I was thinking of musicians, because I suspect there's a high percentage of musicians watching this.
Sure.
Perhaps some of whom, maybe a high percentage of them, have never tried meditation before.
Correct.
But I suspect strongly that if you are a professional musician or you're doing it as a hobby, there will be times you will be lost in the music. And perhaps that's even more apparent for a drummer, where there is the regular beat.
Exactly.
And you will get, I'm sure you get completely lost in it. And in its own way, that's an explanation of meditation, where the conscious mind is switched off.
Yeah.
And you're in the zone.
Exactly. It's all about finding that zone. I think for drummers and meditation. Sorry?
Yeah. I said it's all about getting into that zone. Whatever words you use for that, in the flow or in the zone. A lot of musicians, a lot of dancers, a lot of athletes, especially with rhythmic athletes, so people who are long distance runners or long distance swimmers.
Yeah.
They get into the pattern, they get into the flow, they get into the routine, the repetition.
Yeah.
The conscious mind switches off and they will say they are in the zone. But that's a form of meditation.
Is that muscle memory at that point? Is that muscle memory taking out, like if you're doing long swims, or just repetitive, just keep doing it over and over again until you kind of
that's muscle memory. And that's as a contrast to someone who is playing a reactive sport like tennis, where you're, again, a lot of the time the conscious mind is switched off, but you're reacting to different distances and speeds and events. And I don't think they would perhaps call that a meditative state. It's the repetitiveness of the swimming, of the running. And I'm not saying that drumming or music is repetitive in any way, but what I'm saying is that there's a point where you get to with your skill set that it's a flow through you. Absolutely. Rather than you think what's going to happen next.
Right. Well, if you have a gig that's a consistent gig, you are kind of repetitive to a point, because you have to play that set. If it's a 2-hour set or an hour and a half or even 45 minutes, and you're doing it, you're in one country one night, and then you go to, you have a fly date and you go to the next country the next night. Wow. Half that audience is going to want to. Now, some people follow you around for several shows. You can't have the exact same show. Right? I don't think anyone ever has I don't think any two drummers have ever played the exact beat more, like back to back, even the same exact drummer. It's real close, but it's never exactly the same. You have two different drummers, same exact drum set, same exact studio, same exact miking, same engineer, same producer. Doesn't sound the same. And we covered that a little bit in my in the Love Project Journey on my DVD with that producer. Because we worked with 𝗙𝗓𝗪𝗍 on there, and we worked on different drum kits, and we had such an amazing experience because a lot of it was improvising in the moment. Yeah. And yet it sounded like you were writing this, or reading the song, because the chemistry was correct. You know, at that point, you're just talking about color. You're not talking about time and, you know, how many beats are in there. Is this in 6 or in 7 or in 8 or whatever, you know? So to me, it's always been the same for meditation. I never thought I'd be able to get in the zone that way, because I probably did it mostly with drums that way. So yeah. So I did have a meditation teacher for about 5 years who unfortunately passed away from glioblastoma. But his name was Robert Wilhite, and he basically had a small group in his house, and we used to start like maybe once a week for however long it lasted, but it was the same group. It was probably about an hour and a half, and then drinking water and kind of just relaxing and talking about it. But he kind of guided the whole thing, and a friend of mine turned me on to him. His name is CJ, and we went to the class, and I sat on the ground on a pillow with other people, and it was completely awkward. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
You know, and his energy was a lot like yours. It was very much, you know, just kind of naturally allow, you know, get out of your own way. Just allow yourself to enjoy this process. And
well, I think that's such an important statement, because I think there's a lot of people out there, especially nowadays. I mean, to give you an example, I know I'm in Scotland, and California, the west coast of America, is very different, because it's a much more open society for holistic work and things like that. But speaking very generally, 25 years ago or 20 years ago, when I started doing corporate work, I couldn't mention the words hypnotherapy or meditation or mindfulness.
Oh no, you were cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
You'd be nuts. Yeah. Oh, he's losing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some witch doctor.
Yeah.
And the last 10 years and the last 5 years really have been transformed. Now the corporate world is looking for mindfulness, looking for meditation. And so there's a great deal more people looking at this whole world of what I call eyes closed work, whether it's meditation or mindfulness or goal setting or what could be grouped together and called the law of attraction, or all those sort of things, positive mental attitude, etc.
Right.
And I think it's really important that for anyone listening wanting to maybe start a meditation journey, you've got to be open to the fact that there are many different styles, and sometimes we can go to a meditation class and it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. You know, one of the things I've always tried to do with my meditation practice, and certainly with the imagery that I use, is try to avoid this sort of classic imagery, which is a very beautiful person sitting in a lotus position on top of a rock in Hawaii. Because an awful lot of people will look at that and think, well, that's lovely, but there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can get into a lotus position. There's no way that I've got the time to go to Hawaii. I'm too old, I'm too big, I'm too small, I'm this, that.
Right.
And I find this very much the same as, and here in Edinburgh, I've got a great deal of friends who are yoga teachers, and I've said to them on many occasions, it's wonderful you showing these incredible poses that you get into, and sitting with your legs like a pretzel, and all these magnificent things. But there's people who will look at that and think, I can't possibly get there, I can't possibly do that.
Right.
So what I try to do with my courses and what I try to do with my recordings is simplify it right down, take the woo-woo out of it. And I think where my skill set lies is in introducing people to relaxation, to going within, to meditation and mindfulness. And once you get, what I always try to do is, once you try to get a convincer with people, where something happens within a meditation and you feel it and you think, oh wow, that's actually made a difference to me. I feel that. that's exactly what happened to me. I was so fortunate when I did meditation the first time that it was so gentle.
Yes.
You see, there is a thing for eyes closed work, and many other things. There's a law of the universe. Now, this is going to sound a bit woo-woo, but let me just take you through it. There is a thing called the law of reversed effect. Now, normally in life, if you want to learn to do something, as a child, learn to walk and learn to talk, learn to ride a bike, drive a car, use a computer, learn to play the drums, learn to play any musical instrument, learn almost everything in life. It takes dedication, it takes motivation, it takes concentration, it takes continual practice, and you've got to really go for it to gain mastery in any of these things. But there are a select group of little things that happen to us in life that the harder you try to do it, like traditional ways, the more it comes back and bites you and you can't do it. Correct. Now, the classic example of this is sleep. Anyone out there who has difficulty sleeping will know without any shadow of a doubt that as soon as you try to make yourself sleep, you end up more awake. Yeah, you can't try. It has to, that's what people always ask is, how do you do it? How do I get there? How do you, and you do have to sit with, it's the same, like, I like that you use the example of how to learn how to ride a bike. Because to me, it's that how to ride a dirt bike or a motorcycle has been the last 5-6 years, hence the injuries as well. Because sometimes you're in such a zone, or with drumming, you can hurt yourself playing drums. I know there's a lot of drummers that know what I'm talking about. You'll be in the middle of a gig and you'll bash a finger up between the snare and you're in the middle of a show. You don't feel it till after the show as much as you just see blood on the snare head or something. Because the adrenaline's flowing. Correct. And that's the other side of it. Or you are dealing with something, horrible news that you received that day. The list goes on into all the things you were talking about, but I'll let you get back to what you were saying. But I like that example, a lot. My point is that there are things that are affected by the law of reversed effect. Sleep is one, memory is the other. Now, there are exceptions to all rules, but most of us will have had the occasion that you come in and you put your glasses down on your car keys, and then hours later you think, where the hell are my car keys? Where are my glasses? And the harder you try to remember where they are, the further back it goes. And it's only when you don't think about it that the memory comes back. Right. And it's exactly the same with creativity and intuition. So you can't force it. This is the secret for relaxation and meditation and mindfulness. If you go into that world and you try to do it, you block yourself completely. So unlike everything else we've learned in life, which takes, as I said earlier, constant effort, focus, concentration, determination, unlike anything with meditation and mindfulness, you've got to let go of the process. You've got to be so gentle with it that it starts to work. And it is in the letting go that you really start to get into that zone. Yeah, absolutely. The less you do, the better it works. And that's the same with anyone asking you how you play something on a kit or how someone is on a track. And, anything that you want to master is going to, from Bruce Lee himself, be like water. You do have to kind of get in that zone slowly. Doesn't happen in one day. You don't sleep one night and wake up and go, I'm a natural meditator. I did it one day. I feel great. Maybe that works for some people. I don't know. I've yet to meet someone who consistently is in such a Zen state of mind at all times and has nothing ever go wrong around them, anybody that they know or family members or,
there's so much going on that we're dealing with. I think it's a data explosion to begin with social media. I think people are assuming a lot of what is actually really going on in people's lives because they post something and, wow, don't they have a great life? Or, wow, don't they have the most amazing house or the most amazing whatever? And I want that.
Powerful.
Yeah, and it is really powerful. And the media, obviously, just the news. Let's just start with the news. Every channel giving you a different source of information. You're like, wait, I thought this was what was going on. No, wait, it's that. Yeah. No, wait, it's this. No, wait, and they're drawing you in because that's what the go-to is now. Instead of like reaching for your phone, go sit down with a cup of tea for 10 minutes in the morning, or, look at the sunrise, or get in nature just a little bit each day, and then see the difference that it makes. I know for myself, when I'm not doing that, or if I get sucked into social media or watching the news, I won't get into politics, but I can't watch the news today at all.
You see, if you think about lately,
yeah,
if you think about the First World War or the Second World War, where people were getting news in a newspaper 3 or 4 days later in black and white, and the horrific things that were going on. And then you think about now, where you watch the news and you can get, well, you do get 24-hour rolling news where it's a repetition. It's a repetition of the same message. And there's certainly for me, and I know a lot of my friends here and a lot of people I talk to, one of the first things I will say to people is, people want to know what's going on in the world, but
absolutely.
But don't, you're looking at maybe a 60-inch LCD full color image in front of you of awful things happening.
Chaos.
And the body reacts to that. We are really not much further away than, our great ancestors who perceived danger, and it really was a danger for them at that point.
Absolutely. 100%.
The fight or flight mechanism came up, and in running away from the danger or fighting the danger, it was sort of worn out. But we have this fight or flight mechanism when we watch television or we read something on Twitter, and up it comes as if we're in danger.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, they, those, and them. That's their job, right? But,
yeah,
who's giving, are we a bunch of robots? Or are we going to try to be humans again and try to get into the nature of, I'd rather hang out with an animal almost than hang out with certain humans, because it's just gentle. It's more real. And if they bite you, it's because you deserved it somehow,
Well, Eckhart Tolle, who is...
I love him.
he is probably the most authentic messenger in
Agreed.
The world today.
Amazing.
And one of my favorite quotes of his is that he is known, the Eckhart Tolle quote, his quote is, "I've known many Zen masters in my life and they've all been cats."
Ah, there you go. It's true. It's true. I mean, and the new earth is another incredible journey to take, and to take it into your own life and adapt whatever it is that you get from people like you, from people like Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts. There's so many great people to look. Mark Twain. There's so many. Bruce Lee. These are just off the Bruce Springsteen. I don't know. Maybe, for some people, maybe for me, at times. Yeah. But artists like that is a very different level of, there is something about a performer versus, I don't look at you as a performer. I don't know if you take that as an insult. I really don't mean it that. I mean it as a compliment.
No.
You're helping people find themselves, as opposed to even Deepak Chopra, I think, was with Wayne Dyer at one point and talking about performers, and it's look at me, look at me, look at me. And
yeah, I think I think people can see authenticity. I think that's why Eckhart Tolle is so
amazing.
So amazing that you and he's basically saying the same thing all the time. Stay in the moment. That's it. He's just saying it from different angles.
Absolutely.
Be present.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that my recordings have been welcomed is the fact that for the best part of 17 or 18 years, I was using these techniques live with people. And
awesome.
I guess maybe musicians will resonate with this. It's like when I am recording, when I'm in the recording studio and doing a new meditation, the only thought I have in my head is that I'm speaking to one person.
That's great.
As if someone is there with me.
Yeah.
And I also know that there are people in my business who record stuff and then they master it, and a lot of the humanity is taken out of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it becomes too clinical, and that it's less human. I mean, obviously, when I'm recording, I will get the engineer will take out the swear words as the fire engine goes past, and
that's all right. That's part of it.
That's all cut out. That's all cut out. But in general, it should be a warm, comforting experience. People should, from my point of view, if they've got their headphones on and listening last thing at night, it's quite an intimate experience. So people should feel really comfortable with it,
right?
As if it's a friend talking to them. And
you've mastered that. I just want you to know. I think anybody. I mean, I have a lot of friends that I've sent your package. You used to have like MP3 packages and. Like, this is the way to go. Like this, just try it. Oh, and I love that you say you try it for a minimum of 3 weeks. Because if you do it for like 3 minutes, I can't do that, And of course, we all have days where it's like, there's too much heaviness going on about this one particular thing, whether it's a divorce, a breakup, someone is very ill, you're very ill, you just got shitty news, whatever. I mean, it's a nonstop, evolving thing. But how do we get back to, we were talking about the media again. This is what everyone's dealing with every single day right now. And there's a very small percentage of people that I feel are not paying so much attention to that and trying to remain whole as possible. And it's like a tug of war. Like, you're getting sucked in and you're like, I'm not comfortable there. Why am I even going there at all? So I'm trying to avoid doing that for us in our small circle. And these days, people that do have children are doing like pod hangouts, with other families because school's going to start. And they all get tested. They all say, okay, one home is going to teach these 5 children so they can at least socialize a little bit and be together.
Sure.
Because how the hell are kids gonna, we were worried about these. Like, I don't know if you can see this,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's worried about that and iPads and like give that to the kid and shut them up. It's like, all right, if you're gonna do that, put on an Andrew Johnson, MP3 or something that they could watch or listen to. And that's one beauty of YouTube, is that it'll give you the next video from a channel that you subscribe to that pertains to what you're interested in, as opposed to, an Apple phone giving me, I just have a dog for less than the week and I'm getting your four-legged friend video on Apple. I'm like, I've taken all this out of my preferences 1,000 times. How are you still here? And it's very, very, like, we're getting controlled big time. And we have to figure out a way to not have that happen, because it's happening.
Oh my, I mean, so I've had a bit of a wild journey on the App Store. My ex-business partner and I, we had a very amicable business split. maybe just about a year ago. So we created the world's first meditation app.
Oh, wow.
January 2009, we launched it.
Wow.
And I have to say, we had no idea. From my point of view, it was just another way of maybe selling enough to, I remember saying to my ex at the time, after the first week's sales, I remember saying to her, if we do that every single day for a month, we can have a nice meal out.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was tiny, but it grew and grew and grew. And so 2007 into 8, I think the iPhone came out, and then the App Store. January 2009, we launched the world's first meditation app. And about 3 or 4 apps after that, I decided to do one called Disconnect. Now, it's still available, but Disconnect with Andrew Johnson was an app to break the habit of using your iPhone. And I thought, this is the maddest thing ever, because I'm doing a meditation to stop people getting addicted to their iPhone, and they're listening to this on their iPhone. But
the irony.
But I thought this is a genius move, because the point I'm making here is that was maybe the middle of 2009, 11 years ago. Even then, people were talking about the addictive nature of smartphones 11 years ago. So I know it has become, I mean, the ship has sailed.
That's right.
Technology is here. We've got to deal with it, but there's more and more people nowadays, I believe, curating their Instagram feed or their Twitter feed and looking at a feed that makes their heart sing.
Right. We're not here to completely bash it either. I get it. But it's a great tool.
We are talking.
Exactly, because I don't want to be a hypocrite of like, hey, YouTube and all those guys. But if you use it as a tool and you use it the correct, with the intention of what is its purpose, then maybe you can get from point A to point B the way that you want it to. Now people like yourself trying to go from point A to point B, and there's letters that don't even exist in the alphabet getting in the middle of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like so many sources that are out there. It's an overload of data, and you can't get to the point anymore.
I'll give you a little example. So I've been in this business, as I said, 25 years, and social media I get into quite early because I've always, I've had websites and most of my business is online. And last year, after a particularly busy summer, I made a quick decision, went off to Greece myself, and I went back to a place I used to live in Greece, and I had 7 days of doing very little, but I was doing a little bit of work on my iPhone. And 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, I would go down and do some meditation on the beach before anyone arrived. The sun was just coming up, it was getting warm. And I remember on the 3rd day sitting there and posting on Instagram and then looking at my feed. And I started getting caught up in it. And I started looking and thinking, look at these people in these beautiful places. How did they get there? That beautiful car and that amazing house they've got, and look at them. And I started feeling, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. What am I doing wrong? This is ridiculous. Right. How are they living the life they have?
Yeah.
And what am I doing wrong? And then there was something happened. There was a noise, and I looked up, and here's this crystal blue ocean, and no one on the beach, and the sunshine. And I'm thinking, oh my God.
Throw the phone in the water.
Throw the phone in the water. But the point I'm making is, how powerful is that? And I'm not saying that because it's me, but
no, it's an honest, wonderful story.
Completely. Yeah. And I I sat there and laughed at myself and thought, that is madness. That's absolute madness. But
you caught that moment.
Yeah. It's nice to catch it and have a laugh.
Yeah.
It's
and that's
nice
what it should be. There's nothing wrong with that.
The ridiculousness. No.
Right. But do we all see the ridiculousness? Because how many times can you post another photograph of yourself with the same information and not get tired? I mean, I'm tired of looking at you. You must be really tired of looking at you. I was tired of looking at myself just introducing you. You know what I mean? You can't just, I'm being honest. It's like I can speak to somebody in a room and I'm calm. If it's just me talking to myself, I'm like, what am I doing here? You know, now I know people are watching and I'm getting, you know, like my heart's starting to race and all that stuff. And it's a strange time. It's been a strange time, and it always gets worse before it gets better, like anything else. Yeah. And I do believe in the young generation right now. I think they're incredible. I think they're smart, and I think they have us to guide them a little bit. But, you know, if you allow, again, get out of your own way and get out of the little guy's way, because they know more than we do on some level. I believe that, genuinely.
Well, I believe that things are shitty, if you'll pardon the expression. They really are.
I agree.
But I think that when things are going okay, if things are going okay, it's easy to be tranquilized with the television. It's easy to be tranquilized with other things that are going on. And it's easy to not notice what's going on in the world with Black Lives Matter, with the way that politics are going. It was easy for a lot of people to ignore the climate change. I believe that it's now getting to the stage where the contrast is too much. And most people are struggling with this at the moment, but most people are having to come down on one side or another. They've either got to, I say this in my meditations, in my life meditations, they've got to start shining a little brighter. They've got to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
They've got
get
to
involved.
Plant something in the ground and say, this is where I stand now. This is no more getting tranquilized because there's some America's Got Talent program on, or no, just not. We need to be able to now stand up and voice these concerns. And I think that if anything is going to come out of this political shift that we're seeing at the moment, if anything's going to happen with Black Lives Matter, if anything's going to happen with this horrific future we're facing with climate change, it's because this part of history we're going to be able to stand up and say no more.
I hope so.
When a certain percentage of people do that, it has to change. It always has.
Right, because then you're dealing with that balance changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we have become, in the last 20 years, we have become seduced by a lifestyle that gives us mostly what we want.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a big difference between.
We want at any point.
Right. There's a big difference between broke and broken. I mean, I think there's so many parts of the world. This COVID makes you look at a lot of different perspective, right? Change,
sure, all
that. But the perspective of, you know, we deal with a charity that a friend of mine, John Travis, started. Deal with it in the sense that we started for my husband's brother who passed away, a charity. They're a nonprofit. They build water wells and higher education in South Sudan, and they get young girls. I think they started with, they had about nine young kids. All the boys were going to the schools and the girls had to walk, all day and night, not be able to go to school just to get clean water. So it started with just water wells and, bars of soap and, just keeping everybody healthy. And now the kids are learning how to have their own community, how to, educate each other. And they built the water wells at the schools, so then the kids have to go to the school. So
awesome.
John and Stacey Travis are amazing. Drop in the Bucket is incredible. But I'm only mentioning this because you're saying how everybody pretty much for the most part has what they need. That's kind of not true in a way, because that person's life is nothing like mine or yours or the next guy, because we are all the same in the sense of what our human need is, but the human condition for them, they're watching their parents get shot in front of them and they have to kill them. And their parents are begging them to kill them. This is happening in the world. And then there's global warming. I mean, you walk through Los Angeles in the most beautiful parts of LA right now, and there's a slew of homeless tents. They're camping.
I've seen it, yeah.
I mean, this shouldn't be happening in the United States of America. There's
not
so much.
One of the richest countries in the world.
Yeah, exactly. But I would rather see something get done and be able to help even a little bit with that, as opposed to, help Joe Schmo get a car, how is that even relevant in today's times? How is that even, I have a Kickstarter, I have this great idea. It's like, that's great. I'm not knocking it, but if we each do something or get involved, people think it's got only to do with money. It's not. You can volunteer and do things that have nothing to do with money. And music, it has always been that source. The arts have always been that source of how you're going to get this message from point A to point B, once again.
Yeah.
So meditating has always been my go-to for just the quiet, because I'm affected energetically by whoever I'm with. If I go to another country, my accent changes. I'm automatically I want to communicate with you. We're the same. On that level, if I go to Sudan, I want to be with those little girls. And I want to connect. I don't want to disconnect. I do want to disconnect from social media and the news and the bullshit that's going on in the politics, and everybody's got an opinion and people are defriending each other. I got off Facebook years ago. I only went on Facebook to announce this. There was like, where have you been? And I'm like, my phone number. You know where I live.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you want to say hello to me, you can. But I'm not checking in and like, don't you know this was going on? I'm having this event or this barbecue. Where did you tell me about it? I sent you an invite. I don't use that. I never used it for that purpose. That's not, so if people wonder why you're not mates with them anymore or you're not hanging out in their circle anymore, it's because the only way they want to communicate with you is through the machine. Let's use the big machine or to talk to the little machine, to the medium-sized machine to communicate. And that's part of this robot control. And I don't want a part of that, and as organic as we can live our lives and as amazing as, one person being conscious, a higher consciousness of the next, we give a shit about one another. Let's do that. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that that's going on. I think people are way too caught up in their own game. And you have this COVID coming now. So that's we're all fighting a pandemic. I lost family members in this pandemic in New York. I've I know people that were hospitalized for other things they couldn't get, didn't make it out. And then they can't have proper funerals. And then they, all that, to live with that afterwards is a lot darker in reality than to say, hey, I am, going to wear a mask. And people are even complaining about that. They don't want to put a mask on. People in 1968 didn't want to wear a seatbelt either. Not that I'm a big seatbelt wearer, because I have a Jeep that doesn't beep when I, need to wear one. But again, you take it's all about choices, and you take your own chance with how you choose to look at global warming, how you choose to watch the news, what sources we want to use. But quieting the mind and having a moment to find your source, whether it's your MP3s or listening to a broadcast like this, or Fitness Friday, which is just an amazing thing that Jules put together at DW. So props to that. I watched David Elitch on the first one, I think it was, and, playlists, and just keeping a positive, stay healthy, nutrition. What are you putting in your in your diet, like all that, everything plays a role. And if we lose focus of all of that, we're losing a lot more without realizing how much we're losing.
For sure.
And it's really scary. It's dark, and I don't know. I want to get to that space where people are not just communicating that way anymore. And I don't see it going backwards. Yeah, as you said, the ship has sailed.
I think that the ship has sailed, but I think, again, like what I was saying earlier with contrast, I think we see that. I see a lot of that now, where people are hanging about in person a lot more.
Yeah, it's great.
There was I can't remember where it was from, but I heard a wonderful story of a group of people who, before COVID, they all go out for a meal and they put their phones face down on the table, and the first person to pick up the phone pays the bill.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting.
My friend Carrie's mom did that.
That's quite a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And that's like a mindful practice where you're aware of how many times you think about picking up your phone. And I think it's nice. I came over a couple of years ago. I came over to Seattle to see my business partner at that time, and I had a choice of flying British Airways or flying Virgin. Same time of flight, same flight time, same cost, almost. Virgin had, I think I flew British Airways, but Virgin had Wi-Fi. And I flew British Airways because they didn't have Wi-Fi.
Right.
Because I just loved the thought of, actually, there's no Wi-Fi, so the phone needs to be off. And I've got 9 hours of having the phone off. How lovely. And then switching the phone back on after 9 hours and realizing I'm not that important. There wasn't that many, it's like, oh, really?
It's not even that. The phone is not. Exactly. You're important.
Then thinking, well, I can do that again.
Right.
Well, it's kind of hard when I can run my entire business from my phone.
That's great.
But it is nice being reminded that I don't have to be on it all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted for anyone who's hasn't got involved with meditation or relaxation or mindfulness, one of the great selling points I find. Now, remember, as I said earlier, I've been in this business over a quarter of a century, and people will say to me, oh, I can't believe you get stressed, or I can't believe you get angry, or I can't believe you, of all people, felt this. Now, meditation or mindfulness and that practice doesn't stop you feeling human emotions. Of course it doesn't. It doesn't make you a robot.
It shouldn't. Right.
It shouldn't.
Right.
What it does do is give you the ability to get back in control quicker. So the problem with stress isn't necessarily the thing that stresses you, because that will happen. The problem with stress is holding on to it.
Right.
The problem with anxiety is not that you get a bad phone call about someone in your family becoming suddenly very ill. That would cause anyone anxiety. Absolutely. The problem is holding on to that anxiety and not being able to function. And letting go of the anxiety and quietening the conscious mind puts you back in touch with the big computer that we all have.
Right.
And up here in this inner mind, the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, whatever wording people want to use, up here we have a vast amount of resources and abilities and skills and strengths that we can tap into to start to see solutions to whatever's coming up in front of us. Wayne Dyer has a wonderful expression: when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change.
Change. That's right.
And it's so many of us so often will have a period in life where we try to change what's external to us. And that's really difficult to do short term. Really difficult. What's much more possible is to change how we feel about it, and then the traffic jam doesn't cause the same problems.
Right.
Someone giving you negative feedback doesn't give you the same problems, and you can let go of it. And then what used to affect you has changed now, because your body doesn't feel the same way about it. Your emotional system is much more resilient. Meditation and mindfulness, when you're gentle with it and you find a practice that you like, that you can recreate on your own, gives tremendous bounce back. It gives tremendous resilience. It gives tremendous tools to get you to sleep.
Yeah.
To get in touch with your creativity, your intuition, your memories, your knowledge, your ability to goal set or visualize. And there are so many benefits that I could spend the rest of my life talking about it. And I'm eternally grateful that I'm doing something in life that fills my soul and gives me that excitement, even that after this amount of time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm full of passion for it, and the more people that I can introduce into this world and allow them to gently enter this world, the better. Because I think it will change the world.
Let's lead into you. I mean, I know we all had our singing bowls with Jules, but let's lead into your meditation, because I know you have to be cross town soon.
Oh yes! Oh my goodness, we've only got 3 minutes left.
You see, yeah. Well, you have a few minutes to go past if you need to, but you have to go. Okay. So whatever you feel would be the first introduction. To me, it's. I remember Robert Wilhite used to say that it's like a little man filing everything the way that you would like, a little bit at a time, because thinking about nothing makes you think about everything. So how do I start? How do I do it? What would be your first?
Well, okay.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, okay, if you'd like to join me in a very quick little meditation, and if the links will come up a little bit later for my website, and there's some free recordings there that I started giving away when COVID started. But if you would like to put a hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach, and just sit for a second with your eyes closed and just noticing the flow of your breath. And the reason that so many people focus on the breath is that because all of us have it. All of us are aware of our breathing when we start to go inwards. Just notice which one of your hands is moving the most. It might be the upper hand or the lower hand. And feel the heat of your hands resting there. This is such a simple way to start a meditation practice. Closing the eyes and just gently being aware of the breath and the different aspects of the breath, the movement of the stomach or the chest. If you're breathing through your nose, you may be aware of the flow of air around the nostrils, the contrast of the freshness of the in-breath and the warmth of the out-breath. And perhaps just a gentle recognition of the power of the out-breath. Perhaps you can notice that as you breathe out, there's a little bit of relaxation. A little bit of softening that happens on the out-breath. There is a saying about meditation that Even just being aware of the gap between the in-breath and the out-breath is enough to meditate. Now, as always, I've talked too much in this interview, in this webinar. So this is a very short meditation. Then even just doing this at night, lying on your back with a hand on your stomach and a hand on your chest with your eyes closed, and just following the breath can be enough to take you down a couple of steps into sleep. People will say that my mind wanders off, and that's just perfect. The mind wanders no matter what we're doing. Whether we're playing a musical instrument or driving a car or a motorbike, whether we're in conversation or watching television, the mind wanders. The secret is that you can notice it wandering, and you can step back and observe it. You can become an observer to the thoughts. When you do that, you realize that so many of them are repetitive and trivial. When you notice that, you can let go and just come back to the breathing. Just returning home to the breath. The secret of all meditation is to keep it simple, to keep it gentle. But I often say in meditations, do not, under any circumstances, be fooled by simplicity. It is the simplicity that keeps us in the moment, now, keeps us in the space that we're occupying here, and deepens our experience of this. Just being here, now. And so you can bring a little movement into your feet and bring a little movement into your hands. Take a deeper in and out breath to awaken the body. And you can open your eyes and just come back to the moment.
That was awesome.
Nice and simple and quick.
It was great. You know, your heart starts beating a little bit quicker, your hands start getting a little bit warmer and feel a little bit more alive. And I enjoy it. I think I'm connected to your voice through your other work, you know, that I've followed over since 2009.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute, which is great. And obviously I haven't been consistent throughout all those years.
You don't need to be.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's definitely part of something that you keep going back to and, you know, is one of the sources that you can utilize. Let's do Facebook, relax.with.andrew.johnson.
Oh, it's not the best, is it?
Instagram
at
with
Andrew Johnson.
Okay, go ahead and introduce. And
Twitter at Andrew Johnson. Yeah, if you put my name into Google, it's either me or the disgraced American president. So you will know which one it is.
Thank goodness you're not that. And hopefully
thank goodness I'm not that. Although I have had criticism of my political leanings.
Of course.
As a disgraced and long deceased American president. So there we go.
Well.
People are strange.
Hey, we have a new president we could do that with now. It's all right. It is what it is in America right now. Everybody has their.
It is what it is.
People don't want to be your friend because of it. That's fine. And if they choose to have their opinion, they're entitled to it, and that's also fine. But again, thank you so much again.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Jules, for setting this up and doing all the wonderful behind-the-scenes technical wizardry.
Amazing. All right, wait. Just give a little ounce of love here since we did do this. Watch everybody's ears. We'll do our little Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. And
thank you, everybody. I'm trying to find which hand I wave with now.
I'll let you out.
Be gentle with yourself, everybody.
You too, Andrew. Thank you again.
Thank
I'll
you,
introduce.
guys.